Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. We've got another mono black deck today, courtesy of Bjorn, who wanted me to play with Painter. So, this is a general archetype that has evolved a lot. There's been a lot of interest in mono black decks in Legacy right now, specifically because graveyards are so good, with cards like Murktide Regent and Mystic Sanctuary and Dragon Rage Channeler being so prevalent. So shutting off the graveyards with cards like Leyline and Dauthi Voidwalker is really strong. And we have kind of two different combos in this deck list. The first requires either one of these and a Helm of Obedience. The short version here is that if you activate Helm of Obedience for X equals 1 or greater, you will mill out your opponent and all of those cards will end up in exile. On a slightly different note, we also have the Painter Grindstone combo. Painter Servant allows you to change every card to a certain color, and Grindstone lets you mill your opponent out completely if the two cards that it mills share a color. There's kind of a conceptual issue in the deck building here, though, and that's that Grindstone is an artifact, and so is Helm of Obedience. So cards like Stony Silence and Collector Oof tend to be very strong against this deck. So it's not necessarily I've dodged your hate, I can win with the other combo sort of situation in many cases. The supporting shell for this deck list is the Stompy shell, with Ancient Tombs and Urza Sagas in the mana base, as well as lock pieces like Trinisphere and Chalice of the Void. Since this is a mono black deck, we can also play Opposition Agent, which is really strong versus the fetch lands. It makes me a little nervous that there's not very much game one removal in this deck list, but I love the 4 copies of Sudden Edict in the board. This is a card that has really overperformed for me in Legacy in the past couple of weeks. And if you take a look at the sideboard here, most of the rest of that is a Karn the Great Creator Wish package. I'm going to highlight the one uncommon card here, and that's Powder Keg. Beginning of your upkeep, you can put a fuse counter on it, and you can sacrifice this to destroy each artifact and creature with mana value equal to the number of fuse counters on it. So this is very similar to a Ratchet Bomb in terms of functionality. Yeah, I think that's more or less all that I have to say here. Why don't we go ahead and jump into the games? If you're new here, consider subscribing if you like what you see, and if you're a regular, please throw me a like before this video begins. That's one of the easiest ways to support my content for free. Let's battle. All right, opening hand has 2 lands. I have half of 2 different combos. I don't really have enough mana to get to this higher stuff, and the redundant helm isn't really good. I'm just going to go ahead and mulligan this one and see where we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could put back Dauthi Voidwalker and play like Karn Opposition Agent on turn 1. This hand's a keep. I gotta think for a second, because I can do some weird stuff with Karn where I keep Dauthi Voidwalker instead and just tutor up a Helm. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Karn, tutor Helm, play Opposition Agent, but then kind of be stuck. Alternatively, I can throw back 1 Dark Ritual. Just go to 5 mana on turn 1 for Dauthi Voidwalker and Opposition Agent. Wonder if that's better. Okay. This is one of those moments where I want to know what you do. Like, leave me a timestamp. Let me know what your tossback is. This is a weird situation. I can also just toss back Karn. I don't know. Both of these on turn 1 is pretty hot. I'm gonna ignore the Karn for right now, but keep it in my hand so that I have a little gas if something goes wrong. Like, accelerating out the Karn is cool, but without, like, actual lands to support it, it's really kind of mediocre. Like, I could have played the Karn and gotten a Lotus Petal, and, like, that's sort of interesting. So we might be playing against, like, lands or 4-color Loam, based on what I am seeing thus far. Karn now becomes more attractive, awkwardly, after my opponent plays Mox Diamond. Alright, discarding a Thespian stage. Sure. We just Loamin? Or green sunning? Sure. So now that my opponent has something to pressure the Karn, that becomes less good. I don't really think I can play Trinisphere right now. I think I'm just going to stay the course with the original plan. of going up to 5 mana, play a Dauthi Voidwalker, and an opposition agent. So now the Elvish Reclaimer doesn't get to do its like primary function. I have a shadow creature that can consistently attack. I've got a little bit of gas left in the tank. Right now, like having the Dark Ritual in the hand over the Karn would be cool, so that I could follow up with Transfer the next turn, I think, but like the Transfer would be really awkward with this in some circumstances. Okay, my opponent just passed their turn without doing anything. There's some world where I need to be afraid of an Endurance if I attack in with his opposition agent, so I don't know if I want to attack in with it. Like, I haven't seen enough cards to confirm my opponent's archetype with 100% certainty. I think I'm willing to just, like, not risk this thing in combat right now. And just deal the 3 to my opponent. I don't think I want a Chalice on 0, but maybe I'm wrong. I actually do have no 0 drops. How likely is it that my opponent has another Mox Diamond and the land to do it when Life from the Loam is off? I'm gonna wait a turn here. Okay, there is a Swords to Plowshares. That's fine. And when I say that's fine, I mean my opponent can tutor for a Dark Depths right here. So it's not actually fine. Actually, I have a Swords to Plowshares in exile. Maybe it is fine after all. It becomes less fine immediately if... Oh. 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 So the plan now becomes Karn Ensnaring Bridge. I'm gonna put this Chalice into play. Now, do I play Trinisphere? If I play Trinisphere, the 2 remaining Dark Rituals in my deck become bad, but it's really only 1 Dark Ritual because one of them is currently on the bottom of my library. I think I'm okay getting this thing out of my hand, but again, it does take away 1 draw from me that allows me to play Karn next turn. So, like, there is that. There's also worlds where my... Oh, interesting. Yeah, that makes more sense. I just reversed the order mentally. Yeah, there's also worlds where my opponent just grabs Wasteland and just, like, takes their time in killing me. And I get locked under my own Trinisphere. Alright. Situation is dire, right? So, opponent goes 2 mana, goes and grabs Dark Depths, 1, 2 mana, copy it, and I'm dead. And since I have Trinisphere in play, there's nothing that I can do about that. I guess I'll make sure they make their Merit Lodge, yeah. And my opponent does have 23 power in play, so, like, I do die despite being at 21. So, what do I like here? I like the Edicts a lot. Those are all going to come in. Probably for either Trinispheres or Chalices. I don't think either one is, like, the most potent thing in the world. And then kind of the question beyond there is, like, do I want anything else to support this? And then is worth Chalice or Trinisphere. Chalice is, like, very reasonable as a turn 1 play, but then means that I can't just cast Grindstones, which I'm looking to use to win the game. I also could just board in some of these cards if I want to take some number of these lock pieces out. Taking these out will make my Urza Sire Construct tokens worse, but I think I'm going for a combo kill anyway. How close to 8 cards boarded in can I reasonably get? Like, another Pithing Needle is totally reasonable. Another Toxic Deluge to clean up. Elvish Reclaimers is totally fine. Just play... I don't know. Am I getting Bridge just about every time with Karn? If that's the case, I could board in these 2 cards or board in one of those plus Lotus Petal and just call that good. And leave myself with Bridge and Lattice as the primary things that I'm getting with Karn. I don't hate going faster. I think I'm going to leave the Helm in the board and board in the Grindstone. This is a reasonable but unexciting hand. I think I'm going to mull this. Yeah. Yeah, we'll keep this one instead. Oh my gosh, the mulligans are so hard, though. Like, what am I supposed to get rid of? Like, the Painter Grindstone combo is dealt with via Prismatic Ending and such. So maybe I keep my Leyline Helm combo and use my Dark Ritual for that. think I buy that, but I'm unsure about that. Alright, so I will just go land Grindstone. And if I happen to draw a piece of fast mana, this just kills next turn. Otherwise, I can floop it into play and hope my opponent doesn't have Force of Vigor specifically. Mox Diamond is A-OK. Windswept Heath to exile. And Sylvan Library, absolutely. So, do I just Karn? I can just Karn and blow up that Mox. I awkwardly took the Lotus Petal out of the board that I otherwise would want. I don't know that that's better than just playing the Helm and putting my opponent to the test. It's a one-turn clock. Let's go. 4 mana Helm. This is going to be outside of the range of prismatic endings. I guess there's something like Green Sun? Or a Collector Oof that could be pretty annoying here. Arn would have been better against that, but then I kind of would have gotten my Helm stuck in my hand for a few turns. And opponent opting to get deeper into their deck. Okay, sure. Well, I'm good at figuring out what beats me. Okay. My situation is all of a sudden not particularly good. I've got some edicts that I can draw to get rid of this. But I guess, like, my opponent's Collector Roof has shut off their Mox Diamond, so, like, that's a thing. When my opponent just plays more creatures, though, it is problematic for me. Okay, so this is going to get an Elvish Reclaimer, then. And now my opponent has Edict Protection. So I'll want to get, like, a land and a Toxic Deluge to clear both of those at the same time. Not great for me. This is a blocker, though. Why doesn't everything become red for today? Make these cards nice and vivid. Nope. Just get hard noped out of there. I'm only taking 3 a turn. That's the positive way to look at it. The negative way to look at it involves that. Okay. What is this gonna be? 4 mana. You're gonna Green Sun for 3 now? Okay, yeah. This will be like an Elvish Reclaimer. Maybe take out my Leyline. Ooh, Outland Liberator. So opponent could have done that for 2 and then removed something immediately. At this point, this thing transforms and it just, like, gets a destruction on untap. I don't really think I can win from here. Yeah, that's fine. We can concede to that. All right, GG's. All right, round 2. I have Painter and Grindstone in the opening hand and 3 mana to cast and activate everything. I'll go ahead and consider this one a keep. Mono Black Mirror. Oh. Oh no. Opponent is very likely playing a Reanimator deck. All right. Rip Grindstone. I'd like to draw a Soul Land. That's really good if I live another turn. I think I am going to just cast a Chalice of the Void on 0 to stop artifact mana. It's a relatively minimal impact play, but it's what I can do right now. And I'm very afraid of just end of turn Entomb into Critter. But this mitigates some of the nonsense that Grizzlebrand can do because I've shut off, like, the Lotus Petals. Alright, there's an Exhume. And I am likely to lose some number of the cards in my hand here to another Unmask or Grief. Yeah, there we go. I probably lose the Dauthi Voidwalker here. Yep. I still have lines that win me the game, though. That's the good news. Like, I can draw Soul Land and Grindstone and still get there in time. The good news is I'll have a relatively hateful deck for the post-sideboard games. Okay, let's take a quick look at everything in there. Alright, there's scary stuff in there. Let's play a Painter. Why don't we call everything green for funsies? End the turn. Hope this doesn't get into play. But life's bad. So, like, I'm taking 7 more here, and then my opponent, if they need to, can draw 7 more cards. Okay. Damage report, Captain. It's just a hard cast Grief. I'm so... Oh. Alright, there's an Animate Dead on the Archon. Yeah, that's no good, and my opponent, like, still has 5 mana, so they're gonna do something else. Okay. Just another Archon. I think at this point, I am out of outs, and am comfortable conceding. We have Leylines and Dauthi Voidwalkers and such for these post-sideboard games. So I don't really want Toxic Deluge, and I don't know how I feel about Karn. Like, Karn for Ensnaring Bridge is super cool, but this is a very slow card in a matchup that I kind of think will be determined in turns 1 through 3, so I don't know that I actually want this. So I'm going to explore what it looks like if I board these out. I could bring in some Sudden Edicts. I can bring in more combo pieces. I can bring in Pithing Needle and maybe Lotus Petal as well. Go Grindstone and Helm. Flush out my combo. Let's do this. And I've got 2 slots left. Pithing Needle on Grizzlebrand is kind of cool. I think I want 1 to be able to search up with Urza Saga. I don't know that I want more than that. I don't mind playing a couple Sudden Edicts to answer creatures that get into play. The issue is that some of them, like Grizzlebrand, like taking out the body isn't necessarily enough because damage is done once it comes into play directly. I would like to play first as a turn 0 hate card followed by a turn 2 hate card. I think this is fine. And play a Leyline. Alright, opponent has a Chancellor. In that case, I can go ahead and go Swamp, cast Lotus Petal, pay my tax off of that, and still have one of these 2 cards on turn 2. That's totally fine with me. Which one of these I play is a little trickier. Okay, that's a lot of artifact mana. Alright. I think I'm just going to pass the turn with Opposition Agent available. I don't know, Trinisphere is really good, but so is getting that Bloodstained Mire. I don't know, maybe I should just drop the Trinisphere and treat the Opposition Agent as the follow-up to that. Makes it significantly harder for my opponent to, like, casually bounce the Leyline out of play and then kill me in the same turn cycle. Okay, it did just resolve. There are worlds where that's bad against something like a Serenity that my opponent plays. Wow. Used Wear Tear is a beating. Alright, so opponent has a window here. I know they have a fatty. Okay, there is a Chancellor to the graveyard. Is it coming into play? It's not coming into play immediately. I think I just play Trinisphere here. Okay, that's something I did not want to see. Because, like, the Chancellor is so much more beatable than a lot of the other threats in that deck. So the good news is, if my opponent doesn't have the land drop this turn, Opposition Agent can potentially steal the game. But it looks like they do. So life's bad, and I'm going to have to now combo my opponent off. I'll get 2 or 3 turns to do that. Oh. Sure. So I'll just pass with Opposition Agent available. Alright, so Serenity nukes my Trinisphere. Faithless Looting is totally fine. I maybe should have responded to this to make a fetch land more awkward for my opponent. Okay, opponent has Go and Tells as a thing. And drop this into play. I'm always attacking for 3. And kind of the question is, what do I do from there? Neither of these is particularly good as a hate card right now. If my opponent doesn't have a reanimation spell right now, their turn is Flashback Faithless Looting. If they do, I have great amounts of trouble beating it. I think I win this game more often on the hands where I try to just kill my opponent than on the hands where I just cast this Trinisphere. Like, the hands where they don't have it go better for me than the ones where they do. If I put this Grindstone in play, I'm better at, like, top decking a Painter and getting the win. Maybe my evaluation is wrong, though, since they valued taking a turn to destroy my Trinisphere, but hard to say. Alright, there's a Reanimate on a Grizzlebrand, which puts my opponent to 7. Means that they cannot draw another card. Okay. They are continuing to go, though. Oh, hold up. That reanimate is now in exile. That reanimate is now in exile. Holy shit. Holy shit. This the power of Dauthi Voidwalker? Okay. Yeah. 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 Alright. This just gives me protection from creatures. Absolutely. Reanimate. Reanimate. Target Sarah's Emissary. Hell yeah. Okay, so now I know about show and tell. I didn't know about previously. That makes me want Ensnaring Bridge a little bit more. Ensnaring Bridge still eats it to Serenity, though. I think these are things that I should be thinking about on the draw. Is Opposition Agent reasonable on the draw? My opponent's initial fetch lands are going to come down under it, as are their Entombs. Maybe that's not reasonable on the draw. At least not as a 4-of. I can just play these instead. I still think Karn is just too slow. Like, I like the utility that it adds, but I don't know that it's fast enough here. I'm also not 100% sure if I should play so many Sudden Edicts, but here we are. I will be keeping this hand. It needs more mana, but it has some great options here. Alright, so there's my pre-game Leyline. And see what my opponent wants to do. Ooh. So I always cast Dark Ritual. And then it gets harder from there. Chalice on 1 is pretty sick, but leans into Serenity. So I think I'm just going to slam the Dauthi Voidwalker now. And I'm unsure if I should just play this on 0. Again, bad against Serenity. And I'd rather play it on 1 to help deal with Faithless Looting. Digging for the correct answers. Okay. The opponent is taking some actions here. They may just be fetching around Opposition Agent. Okay. Ooh, they're getting blue, which potentially represents Show and Tell. Oh, I just beat Show and Tell, right? Like, opponent cast Show and Tell, I put in Helm. Helm activate for 1. Yeah, I just beat that as of right now. That can change, but that's where I'm at currently. I think I'm going to play this out for 0 now, though. Okay, cool. Alright, it looks like it's just the land drop and pass. Nice. We're inching closer to a win here via Opposition Agent, like, grabbing that land. And I'm also working towards, like, just playing Helm. Ooh, it looks like I'm just getting another turn here. There's 3 mana, play the Opposition Agent. My opponent will fetch in response. Alright, now they have red mana. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's just go ahead and play that. Go to combat. Bash in for 6. Put my opponent to 5. A 4 life for a Helm. Pass the turn. Now, I can attempt to go off here, but if my opponent has something, they just, like, get to blow these things up. I think I'm gonna let them draw their card. Because, I'm still just presenting lethal damage here. Okay, yeah, nice. And now we're 1-1. Okay, round 3. I've got a pretty respectable opening hand here. I have, like, Urza Saga Ancient Tomb if I want to play that way. I have an early Chalice. I do have, like, an entire combo in my hand. Basically, I like what I have going on here. Every card in the hand I think is extremely powerful, like, right now, except the Karn, which will provide nice redundancy for if a Helm gets countered. Oh, well, shit. All right. 2 MTG Goldfish to see what my opponent last got a finish for. It's presumably some sort of graveyard-based combo deck. No, their last color was with, like, a 5-color Zenith deck list, so I do not know what they are playing. I will probably make very minimal changes, keeping that in mind. I will probably keep a hand that is good versus combo. Just kind of air quotes, whatever that means. And I think I'm going to sub Toxic Deluge for a Lotus Petal to just accelerate things like Dauthi Voidwalker out sooner. I think those are all of the changes I am going to make without more information. Okay, seeing as my opponent conceded to Leyline last game, I'm absolutely keeping this hand. And we'll see where this goes. Okay. Could be a reanimator deck of some kind. Without more information, I don't know if I'm supposed to play out Chalice on 0. Like, I guess since I have hate cards for the next 2 turns, it's probably okay to do so, in case this is, like, an Ant deck. But I may be walking extra permanents into, like, some sort of Serenity effect or something like that. Okay. So we are playing against Reanimator again. Opponent absolutely should have fetched around Opposition Agent, because if I draw Dark Ritual, like, it's a card that becomes relevant. So if we go to a game 3, I will probably board similarly. Yeah, opponent's still not fetching around. Okay, there we go. And I'll probably just play this in my opponent's upkeep. Yeah. Like, my opponent knows I have this, so... Or rather... No, they saw it with grief. Woo, buddy! So let's go ahead and crash in for my 3 damage here. My opponent to 16. Beating Serenity as of right now. If I play Karn, I can Karn minus, have Ensnaring Bridge in my hand for a Show and Tell. And then next turn I can Karn minus. Hold on, no, I boarded in the Lotus Petal. I voted, that changes things. That maybe means I just play around discard and just say, like, you're dead next turn. That's reasonable. But, like, with Leyline and Helm here, this is probably pretty tricky for my opponent. Okay, I mean, there's a Serenity. That's reasonable. So I'm going to go ahead and start by attacking in for my 3 damage. Put my opponent to 13. Then I'm going to go ahead and activate this, I think. I think I'll just do it now, rather than let my opponent have more mana available when I do this. And this potentially causes one of my things to get bounced to hand. Okay, yeah. Cool. For the lulz. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, I have a medium power level hand that can play a Trinisphere on turn 1. We're playing against a Yorion deck, which, again, has shifted much more towards being blue mid-rangey stuff than Death and Taxes stuff. Well, hello, Phil. Hey. Good luck. Admittedly, if our opponent is on Death and Taxes, this hand is, like, very much not the greatest, but this hand is very respectable versus a blue control deck or a blue mid-range 2 combo deck. So let's see where this goes. Fuck. No. I can play a turn 2 Karn and shut that off. That's just another land. I'm gonna think about this for 1 second and make sure there's not anything I want to do more than turn 2 Karn, and there is not. I think long-term my plan with this hand is hide behind Ensnaring Bridge like a coward until I eventually combo off my opponent. And to that end, I probably want to get stuff out of my hand ASAP. Alright. So... Dark Ritual? Opponent said, oh my, I have seen a few recent videos. This can't be good. Correct. Maybe not as bad as you think, but it's definitely not good for you. So we'll see if we get a Mother of Runes here. We do. Do I want to minus Karn immediately for Ensnaring Bridge? I probably do, because of the existence of Skyclave Apparition. I don't just want to, like, plus this card and then get it Skyclaved. Right. There's a bridge. I am going to play out a Chalice on 0 here. I really don't care about my opponent's 1-drops all that much if I am hiding like a coward behind an Ensnaring Bridge. But I do very much care about my opponent randomly playing like a Thalia or another taxation effect that, like, makes it harder for me to get cards out of my hand. Okay, so are we seeing a little tap? We are seeing a little love tap. That's fine. Use your mana now or forever hold your peace. Oh, that's good. So that can flicker Karn out of play, so Vial can be activated, or it can just hold up some mana. Okay, it is just going to hold up some mana. That's fine. So Bridge isn't really doing anything yet. I'm always playing Swamp. Look at the sideboard here. I could get something like a Powder Keg. Use that to take out Vial and Mom. I can also just grab a Pithing Needle and Pithing Needle the Vial. It's awkward because opponent can slip something in if I take that line. I also just want to empty my hand. Maybe I just grab Lotus Petal. Oh, Chalice. Maybe I don't want a card from this Karn. I don't know. Like, tough turn. I will minus this Karn, and we'll see if I regret that as a mistake. I grab the Powder Keg and play that out. This gives me some control options. It's just, like, super awkward if my opponent has, like, Stoneforge Mystic specifically. Okay. Dodged a 2-drop. We'll see how the rest of this goes. Okay, there's another land drop. Okay, that's Yorion to hand. Not the biggest deal in the grand scheme of things. Sure. I'll go to 17. Just going to check. This gets a counter at my upkeep. Yes. All right, so I will put that counter on it. So here's my land drop. I think I'm going to Opposition Agent in this turn cycle. And I'm going to blow up Powder Keg in my opponent's upkeep. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and junk the Powder Keg, attempting to destroy both of these permanents. But like a Flicker Wisp can get involved and get cute. Okay, I think opponent should have done a pro-black there, just for the sake of good habits. I've got an Opposition Agent, or like Stoneforge and Recruiters and things of that nature. I take 3 from this Wisp attack. Going to 14. App Opposition Agent. Okay, sure. So we'll see how tricksy my opponent ends up getting here. So the Flicker Wisp gets blinked out. At end step, this comes back. They might just blink out one of my lands, or they might blink out the Yorion. Okay, they are targeting the Caracas. That's fine. Go ahead and get this Opposition Agent out of my hand here. And then they can go ahead and blink that out. It'll come back at their end step. Or sorry, my end step. Dauthi Voidwalker, absolutely. So I have 5 mana to my name this turn. I think that means playing out 2 cards. I think the bridge is nice. It keeps my opponent's stuff from attacking, although since my opponent does have, like, Dorian, Caracas, and a, like, Flicker Wisp in play, like, long-term, they can definitely mess with that. And though my opponent doesn't explicitly know this, if they don't go on the mana denial plan, they are going to die to my combo. The other kind of quietly cool thing about this is, like, they're very much probably wanting to take out my Opposition Agent with a removal spell rather than my Dauthi Voidwalker. Okay, there is a Wasteland. That means I can't play Helm and go off in the same turn cycle. And now I'm going to get ported down, which is currently fine. Woohoo! I like that. There's other worlds where I Wasteland a Wasteland at some point. Or Wasteland a Rishadan Port. We're not in that world right now. Now, this has Shadow, which effectively reads as unblockable here. And crash in for 3. Ooh, a Ganjo. Okay. That's good. That is a punish for my attack. How do I feel about Trinisphere? Awkward. I think I'm just going to Pithing Needle Rishadan Port now. Actually, it may be more important to Pithing Needle Caracas, so that, like, Yorion can't be recycled. Yeah. I think I will actually do that. Like, I will eventually draw my way to enough non-basic lands that I can vomit all of this stuff onto the board. But repeated Yorion triggers blinking things could be a real problem. Alright, so there's Yorion. I assume we're going to do the same song and dance as previously. Okay, yep, there's exiling the Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp comes back. We'll see if it bounces the Yorion this time. Okay, I don't think that does them a ton of good. So I think they should have blinked Yorion. Yorion would have come back on my end step. And then they could have, like, kept some things suspended for a little while. I think I'm just gonna feed this Urza Saga to Wasteland. I think I am just good with that. Like, I don't want to end up in this situation where I have multiple lands in play. Or sorry, multiple lands in hand that I can't get out of hand for ensnaring bridge-based reasons. And taking my opponent off of large amounts of mana is also just totally reasonable. And now I'm just... Okay, anyway, and now I'm just looking to draw combo pieces. Like, my opponent can port me down. That only goes so far. That's fine. New Urza Saga just dropped. It will also get wastelanded. So, if this gets wastelanded and I get double Rishadan ported, I can get some cards trapped in my hand. I'm not sure that I'm supposed to play this Trinisphere accordingly. Like, it's definitely annoying, though. I think I'm going to hold it in hand. Like, I am settling in for a long game. Opponent needs, like, Skyclaves to take out this shit. And then I'm good from there. Fine. Leyline is fantastic. I think with 2 expensive cards in hand now, I do need to just drop one of these into play. So a soul land will now produce a win for me. The 3-mana Mother of Runes. Now that is technically able to attack, just like let the record show. And I'll get ported. There's a Painter's Servant. Do not have a Grindstone yet. Why don't we go ahead and paint it all black. And pass the turn. Now, purely just waiting on mana or for my opponent to not use Rishadan Port. I do die in 2 turns in the air. Okay. Opponent has thrown in the towel. They just said lot of lands and have conceded. So that would have gotten me the Leyline into play through Rishadan Port, and then I would have won the following turn. So in this matchup, I will probably board my lock pieces out for more removal. Cards like Trinisphere and Chalice of the Void just historically are not great versus Death and Taxes. This is especially true versus these larger Yori and Death and Taxes that have even more cards at higher converted mana costs. So Edicts, Plague Engineer, Toxic Deluge just, like, very easily come in. From there, I think I want to leave one of each combo piece in this sideboard. I will probably just board in another Pithing Needle. They just have so many targets in this matchup. Stoneforge, all the various utility lands, Mother of Runes in some situations. I think I am good with this. Pretty mediocre hand here. Like, I have an Urza Saga start, which is, like, cool, but, like, Wasteland and Rishadan Port really dampen that. And I just have a lot of mana and nothing really to do with it. Would rather mulligan that hand. How's this one? It has Leyline Helm combo in hand. And a Karn. This is fine. I probably keep this and pitch the Dauthi Voidwalker since I really can't cast something that's black right now. Or with a Leyline in play. And we're just looking to get more mana. Painter also a very solid draw here. 1 more mana, so I can shut that off with Karn. Also very strong. Dauthi Voidwalker has returned. Alright. Swamp, Grindstone, pass. There's some very weird worlds where I'm supposed to consider playing Ancient Tomb on turn 1, so that if I draw a second Ancient Tomb, I can Karn on turn 2. But that means that I have less mana if my opponent just plays... And sorry, if they just activate Rishadan Port for their turn. Which is what's happening here. Sudden Edict. Alright. My situation's actually pretty bad. I get my mana locked down for a pretty considerable amount of time. But, like, my first Urza Saga hand would have just absolutely gotten bullied by this Rishadan Port. So, like, mulligan was totally fine. So, okay. Dahlia plus Port, very strong here. See which one of these lands my opponent values more highly. I think it's the Ancient Tomb. Yeah. Edict. Edict is reasonable. Lets me use my mana. Okay, good. I have continued to hit land drops. And we're, again, trying to work towards 4 mana for Karn. We'll see next turn whether or not they want to continue to port my Ancient Tomb for sheer amount of mana, or if they want to port my Swamp to keep me off of black. Black is basically just Dauthi Voidwalker. So, like, I think it's correct to continue porting the Ancient Tombs, but my opponent may view that differently. Alright, what are we working with? Skyclave. Which combo are you more afraid of? The Leyline one. That's good for me because I have a redundant bit for that combo. I also don't know that that needs to be done at sorcery speed like that. Alright, there's another Helm. There's Dauthi Voidwalker, which has now slipped into play. And we'll see where my opponent goes. Vile staying at 3. Oops, more Vile. Okay, that's revealed zone. Alright, that's the Swords to Plowshares. That does mean I will have access to 4 mana on my turn. I can Karn minus and get a Painter, which is pretty strong. That's also very reasonable as a follow-up. I also get to know immediately if my opponent has any Aether Vial shenanigans. They do! That's a Recruiter. Getting a Skyclave. I will go ahead and minus and take my value out of this card. I will use this ability, and then I've got some real choices. I can get Painter and represent the combo kill, but I also can just get Ensnaring Bridge and hide behind it. A little bad in the face of Rishadenport. I can also just like get and drop a Lotus Petal, and then more aptly be able to cast a Toxic Deluge and then wipe my opponent's board of 3 creatures, giving me 2 creatures. Oh, I also don't have a Painter in the sideboard here. So I guess there's that. I don't know that I'm ready for Ensnaring Bridge with 4-drop, 4-drop, 3-drop facing down Rishadenport. I'm going to play this Lotus Petal, and we'll see how scary this situation is to my opponent. It's also, like, reasonable to just, like, plus Karn there and force the Skyclave to take out Karn. Okay. Very glad I have this Lotus Petal. Karn goes down to this attack. And we'll see if my opponent even makes a move. Yeah, they can just kind of chill. Gotta get to this Toxic Deluge pretty quickly. Yeah, I got to it. Do I even do it now, though? Like, I can do it now for X's 2, or I can try to hold out another turn cycle. Take 3 more damage from these if I wait that turn cycle. I think I'm just gonna take this as a 2 for 1. Yeah, I'm just gonna pay the 2 life, take out these 2 creatures now. Alright. So this gives me a 4/4. And this 4/4 hopefully stabilizes my board for a while and just like buys me time to draw towards relevant cards. Right. This is a main phase activation, which is weird, but like I respect the MTGO laziness and I'm very guilty myself of the same thing. I assume these are going to 2 and 4 this turn. Yeah. Just working towards Yorion. Yorion Karakas is a long-term problem that I am hoping to solve via Urza's Saga. Okay, and that's all they've got going on. I'm gonna get this ported. That seems wrong to me. Because I can just rip another land and then make an Urza Saga Construct token. I didn't, but that does not seem great to me. But it occurred. Alright, and then these probably go to 5 and 3. It stays in 2 in some worlds. I think 3 is the much higher upside. Alright. There's an activation on 5 for a Solitude. Removing my token. I'll get poked for 2 in combat. Drop to 17. Oh, there's more. Oh, shit. So... Ooh. It was interesting. Yeah, so this forces this activation now. That's fine. My situation more generally is not fine. Okay. So... I can get Grindstone and have Painter Grindstone, but my opponent is about to have, like, Solitude Yorion nonsense that I really don't want to fucking deal with. I don't know that I win this game. I don't, like, and I think the play here is easy enough that it's, I can't expect my opponent to miss it. Alright. Let's Pithing Needle Caracas so that my opponent can only get one more Yorion instead of bullshit. Or no, that's not actually true, right? Like, they just blink the Skyclave too. They blink Skyclave Solitude, eat my Pithing Needle, eat my Construct, leave me with, what is this, a 1-1? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I win from here. Like, this value coupled with the port keeping me from casting these, like, larger cards like Karn is brutal. Yeah, so there's the expected blinks. I get my 1-1 token. The creatures come back. How much am I taking per turn cycle? 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 theoretical damage per turn cycle. It's so much, especially with port involved. I think if I don't hit a land drop here, I'm comfortable conceding. Like, I'm just, like, not going to get to 4 mana before I die. Still don't think that does it. I think that's +2 mana. I can put a Painter in play. That doesn't do anything. Not 100% dead, but I'm very close to it. I like the Caracas and stuff is still active. Yeah, it's not happening. I'm gonna value my time and move on here. It's possible I'm supposed to grind down another minute or two of my opponent's clock there. I didn't look at that when I conceded. I don't think I'm gonna change any of my sideboarding here. I can consider Powder Keg, but I kind of like that as a Karn tutor target. This is a pretty reasonable hand that I could play out a lot of different ways. I can just play this out as like an Urza Saga Construct murder hand. But I think it's probably better to play out the opposition agent prior to doing that other stuff. I'm going to go ahead and keep this hand. And if I play like these two lands out first, there's a good chance this one gets wastelanded so that this actually gets to live and do its thing. And if that gets to live and do its thing, I'll have a couple of constructs plus like Grindstone and Helm of Obedience as potential combo pieces that I just need to draw the other half of. Definitely regret not grinding another 2 minutes out of my opponent, though, by continuing that game. Just kind of like looking at the clock now. But it is what it is. What do you got? Nothing. Grindstone. I'll just pass with the intention of doing an end of turn opposition agent. Yeah. Alright. So that got wastelanded. Ancient Tomb died for Urza Saga's sins. Ooh, another one. Let's attempt to bash in for 3 damage. Opponent drops to 17. I'll play Urza Saga and then drop a Grindstone into play. It's possible that just holding up Sudden Edict is better, though. Okay. I mean, my opponent denies me a Construct token. Oh, sweet Summer Child. That was not the play. That was very much not the play. As Soul Land is so punishing for that exact line. Bash in for 3, put you to 14. Yeah, opponent should have tapped that Urza Saga. Like, I get wanting to take me off of black mana, but, like, you need to play around Ancient Tomb in that instance, I think. Sure. That takes out my opposition agent, which is fine. Go ahead and activate Urza Saga. Get a Construct token. Draw for turn. Activate Urza Saga. Tokens are up to 3/3s. I have a Grindstone in play already, just double checking myself. I do. Let's Pithing Needle Rishadenport. Not worry about mana denial. Make a land drop. I will crash in for 4 with Sudden Edict up, with the intention of usually playing this out in this turn cycle. The Stoneforge Mystic. This is annoying. I can't really Sudden Edict that out of play. I guess I'm just going to not give my opponent the option to choose here and just get rid of this now. My opponent can get like a Cauldron or Batterskull in hopes of trying to stabilize the board here before they die. I'm attacking for a lot next turn, though. There is the Batterskull and a Mother of Runes. Just chump blockers are good right now. Another Urza Saga is pretty legit for me. How am I playing my Helm of Obedience? Like, am I taking 2 damage here? Like, I can avoid taking the 2 damage by casting Dark Ritual. I'm just not sure if that's something that matters. Oh, yeah, opponent realized they messed up. Yeah. That was not good. It's going to be bigger than Batterskull. My things are colorless. Alright. I think I'm going to take the damage here. The Dark Ritual potentially allows me to do some things that I can't currently do. So like, if this mana is dedicated towards Urza's Saga, and I draw a 4-drop, keeping Dark Ritual lets me do all that. Alright, opponent's at 2. I'm at 12. I have creatures larger than Batterskull by a lot. But opponent can, like, Batterskull and Source the Plowshares or something like that and maybe get themselves into a respectable situation. Alright, that is a Recruiter. See if they have some crazy bullet. They can't really play it if they do. I guess they just get a Solitude, yeah. And they're just going to activate that now. Reasonable. Let's see what I draw. A Leyline. I just have Helm in play. So that should just be a kill. Alright. Dark Ritual. Leyline of the Void. And activate Helm of Obedience for X equals 1 while also having Urza Saga available. I think my opponent lost this entire game by giving me... Well, no, that's not fair. My opponent got very far behind for not Rashad importing the Urza Saga. But reaching this top deck just, like, kills them as well. Alright. Well played, Phil. Good to play against you. GG's. Yeah, opponent says, GG's. Always something to learn playing Death and Taxes. Always. Always, always, always. The lines are so intricate. There's so much going on. And just, again, talking about something that I should have done. If I would have, like, ground 2 more minutes off of my opponent's clock, like, I have yet another win condition angle that I could have done there. Alright, I'll be keeping my opening hand for the final round. I suspect we're playing against Death and Taxes here, but I might be wrong. Ooh, I am wrong. So now I get to decide how to play this one out. There's actually a ton of different permutations for how to play this. Like, I can play Urza Saga on turn 1 to work towards the fastest Painter Goldfish. But I think I'm just going to Dark Ritual Trinisphere. Like, I don't actually care about the Dark Ritual or the Trinisphere with this hand. Like, I am intending on winning with Painter combo. So if this eats a Force of Will, that's a win for me. If this, like, slows my opponent down, that's a win for me. Okay, cool. Are we resolving? Ooh, we are resolving! Then I'll have some options for what I do. So opponent is just fetching around opposition agent there, which is smart. Do I want to just jam Painter into Grindstone, or do I just want to get, like, the Urza Saga train rolling? I think I just want to go Painter into Karn. Green's probably pretty safe. Red's probably pretty safe too. Let's go red. Kind of feel like opponent might be playing some sort of, like, Cephalid Breakfast-esque combo deck. See what's happening here. Baron? Okay, sure. Absolutely. So we're playing against some sort of Esper Vial type deck instead. So let's get Urza's Saga going, and I will, fortunately, have to pay life for this. Let's redrop that Painter. Everything can be red. Oh, I guess I should pull up the text of this card. So at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent was put into your hand from the battlefield this turn, draw a card. That's the relevant part, other than the bounce part. Alright, what is this Recruiter going to find? Like, this deck has so many tools at its disposal that it's just, like, really hard to tell. Could be something like a Skyclave Apparition. Okay, it is a Venser. Let's pop that out like that so that I remember. Okay. I think I'm just going to make my Urza Saga construct tokens and kind of be perfectly happy with the way this game is proceeding. Like, my opponent has to respect the tools that I have at my disposal in terms of comboing them off, while also just dealing with some relatively large construct tokens. Nice. Okay. Go ahead and go 2 mana here. And I'll search for a Grindstone, assuming I actually do get to search properly. Opposition Agent is technically a thing that could be in my opponent's deck. Okay, there's my Grindstone. I think I just take my attacks right now, rather than play out this land, because, like, this land has a trigger, and I think if I play out this land, my opponent will bounce my Painter in response to the trigger, and I actually end up getting less damage in this turn. So here comes my 5/5. Okay, there is the Venser, bouncing my Painter, which does turn this into a 4/4. Thought there was some world where that would happen only post-combat. Yeah, they are going to take the damage. So I think I do go ahead and just immediately rejam the Painter. I know it's uncounterable. Rename red. I have 2 5/5s in play that are pressuring my opponent's life total plus an infinite combo. So, like, yeah, my opponent has so much to focus on here. That Trinisphere looked damn good, but generally speaking, I don't think it's fantastic in the matchup. I think I prefer cards like these. I think my Chalices are going to go. That gets me in these cards and at least one Sudden Edict, and then the question from there is, like, do I want more Sudden Edicts? Pithing Needle is kind of whatever. It could be very good versus Aether Vial in particular. Otherwise, there aren't too many targets. It could be good against Karakas and occasional other utility lands. How is Karn? Karn might be worse than just playing some of these other cards in the deck. Like, Karn is flexible, but my opponent is playing a lot of creatures that can just, like, attack it, so it's a slow tutor. Am I in the market for a slow tutor? Or am I just looking to win? I could see getting rid of some Trinispheres or Karns here. The Trinispheres are a little worse on the draw. I think on the draw, maybe I'll pull the Trinispheres. Or at least most of them. Question mark, question mark, question mark. I don't know, like, it's a very safe thing. I'm just unsure on Sudden Edicts, because, like, my opponent has plenty of expendable bodies. At the same time, like, I do want to take bodies off the battlefield. So they can't be blinked. Unsure without playing the matchup more. We're a black source away from just absolutely being in business. I need to mulligan this hand. Yeah. Probably keep this and pitch the Pithing Needle. And isn't going to have protection in the way that I want it to. Like, bounce spells will be pretty good against me here. The Deluge. Wonder if opponent was supposed to fetch to play around Opposition Agent off Dark Ritual. I'll pass the turn here. See what my opponent has to do. Okay, there is the fetch. I'm not able to punish it. Okay, sure. Meddling Mage is going to resolve. I have a Toxic Deluge to sweep that up along with some other creatures. My opponent has named Painter's Servant. Not an issue. Dark Ritual. Urza Saga. 4 mana. Play out a Helm. Like, you can bounce one of these things or you die. Oh, sometimes you just get there. Okay, great. That's a 4/1 in this league. Overall thoughts on the deck list. This may sound a little weird to say, but I kind of feel like my deck did a lot of nothing in the rounds, and I won anyway. And what I mean by that is I won a lot of games in this league with hate pieces rather than with the actual combo pieces. We got paired against Reanimator twice, where, like, my Leylines, excuse me, and Dauthi Voidwalkers just did an incredible amount of work. And this was very much a league where the hate pieces were the shining pieces, not the combo pieces. Like, the combo pieces are what technically won us the game. But, like, I forget what I was playing against, but, like, there was a round where I sat behind Ensnaring Bridge for, like, 8 turns, right? Like, there were a lot of situations like that where a hate card really carried me, more so than the individual, like, combos just being nuts. We didn't do a lot of things in this league, if that makes sense. Like, for example, we never Karn Liquid Metal Coating, we never Karn Mycosynth Latticed. we never, ground out games with Castle Locthwain, but like there was a lot of good stuff going on in this deck list, and I don't necessarily feel like this thing is the most objectively powerful thing, but like it's felt good, and I've put up pretty consistent results with all of these various mono black painter and painter adjacent deck lists. Like the strategy of play Leyline of the Void supported by other stuff that costs a little bit more than the average legacy card is doing really well right now. I also just think this deck is pretty fun to play. And when your opponent messes up stuff, you just get huge opportunities to punish. Like, oh, I didn't play around you having Dark Ritual or Ancient Tomb. Now you are getting these Urza Sagas that I'm not expecting. Now I'm dead when I thought I had another turn. Like, there's a lot to like here. I do really love Trinisphere in this deck list in particular, as you have, like, the Painter, Grindstone, and Leyline Helm combos that, like, both can be disrupted with certain things like Brazen Borrower, but, like, the Trinisphere gives you a layer of safety. Like, this deck gets a big thumbs up from me. I really enjoyed playing this. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out if you want to try out this deck or get one of your own decks on the channel. That information is in the video description. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!